Hey, 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 everybody. It's Tuesday. Hope you're having a great day so far. Catie, I'm Jill Weberding. I'm CEO and founder of NursePreneurs, and I'm with the infamous
Catie Harris, owner and CEO of NursePreneurs. Hi, everybody.
Hey, we are so excited. I love seeing the feedback already in the group of, how incredibly helpful the messaging workshop was yesterday. About it really makes you think, about your messaging. And several of you mentioned you're like, ooh, I'm finding myself in that red ocean. And so that's okay. That's just where you are. Now we know we've got some tips and some strategies, and we're going to move you out of the red ocean. That's the goal.
Right. And if you guys have questions, pop them in the thread underneath of this video. And, there's a little confusion because I had nurse experts before this. So there was my link that's still live. I got to delete that, Jill, actually, because it might be confusing for people. They're probably like, what the hell?
Hey, Ashley. Thanks for everybody. I've seen some eyeballs coming on. Da-da-da. I'm so excited. Today we are talking about mindset. And holy moly, let me just tell you right now, if you are new, my friends, to being a nursepreneur and as working as a business owner, this is by far the thing that will stop you. You stop you in your tracks. It will hold you back from making your offer. You literally cannot get around it. You must go through. Okay. You must work through these mindset issues and blocks. I've seen people try to bury them. I've seen people, including me, I've seen people who try to circumvent them and go around and pretend they're not really there. They're not really, bothering them that much. And I'm just telling you over and over again, ultimately the biggest personal 90, what do we say, Catie? 99% of business problems are personal problems.
Absolutely.
They are mindset blocks, right? It's the limiting beliefs that you talk about and that you've kind of grown up with. You've been ingrained. Most of these have come from childhood. I got to work hard. I got to work till my eyeballs bleed, to get ahead, to be successful. And we know that's not true. Okay. We need to learn to work smarter, not harder. Okay. And so today I wanted to talk, if you guys, whoever's on here, feel free to post in the comments if there's a specific mindset block issue that you've been struggling with. Otherwise, Catie and I can kind of talk about two in particular come to mind immediately, which are imposter syndrome and that, infamous inner critic. What do you think? You want to start out talking about those, Catie?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the inner critic is a good one because, a lot of times we see students come in and they're full force and they're like, I got my message and know what I'm going to say. And then it's like, okay, well, tell us what it is. And they're like, oh, well, I'm not going to say it out loud.
Yeah. Well, it's not quite ready yet.
Yeah.
But I know what I want to say, and the
Right.
reality is you're never going to say it. If you can't say it to a fellow nursepreneur, and I talk to my students about that, who when they're coming through nursing by design, or, next level marketing, it's like when you get into that, this, even if they're small groups, you can feel they're like apprehensive to like, I just don't want to put it out there. And I'm like, look, let's just be honest. If you're not willing to put it out there and in front of this safe, space, this small group where we all want to help each other and, succeed, then friend, what is the likelihood that you are going to put it out into the actual market? Like 0.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
yeah. And then we have that other, well, it's not ready, or, I don't want people to steal the idea, or, I'm afraid I'm making the claims are too big. And, they start to get those types of doubts.
Yes. Right. And so we talk about this a lot too. You're afraid to make the big promise, right? And listen, we talked about messaging yesterday. You have to have a big promise. You can't be all loosey-goosey, like, I'll help you get healthier. I don't even know what that means. Like it's a nominalization. Like everybody's version of what healthier is different. So they're never going to know if you actually have an offer for them if you're not specific and you tell them what they're going to get by working with you. So whether that's a course or coaching or consulting or whatever it is that you're doing, you have to be clear in your message. And that includes a big promise. But usually the problem with making, why they're afraid to make the big promise is imposter syndrome, Catie.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And the imposter syndrome is really powerful. And you've been through this as a nurse. You've been through it where you were on orientation and they had to kick you off, kicking and screaming because you weren't ready to be a nurse. And then 2 weeks later, you've gotten into your zone. You
Yeah,
got your
your feet
routine
wet
down. Yeah, you got your feet wet. You've had your first yell at by the doctors yelled at you and whatever, and you got over it and you
and you're
didn't
still
die.
alive.
You didn't die.
You
Yeah. So
survived.
but that's part of the uncomfortableness of going into a new situation. And it's the
Yeah,
only way that you grow. It's the only way that you learn is if you're willing to be uncomfortable for a period of time to learn how things work.
yeah,
And I mean, you can always stay in the green zone and always be comfortable, but then
that's not
your
work.
life is, yeah, it's always going to be the same. If your life is perfect, then great, stay there. But, for those of us that want to learn and grow and know more, do more, there's going to be zones of uncomfortableness.
Yeah, I mean, there's no growth in the comfort zone.
No.
Like, no growth in the comfort zone, friends. Like, imagine if you would have stayed in your comfort zone as a new nurse and you wouldn't have pushed yourself to learn more skills, to learn more knowledge, to better serve your patients, to get, become the expert in whatever field it is that you're working in. I've been oncology certified for like 21 years, for however long you had to work 2 years or something before you could do certification. Like, that was a professional, goal of mine, but it was because I knew that I was going to get better if I continued to challenge myself. This is just like, you need to view it like a new specialty. Okay. It's going to feel not so awesome in the beginning at times. You're going to have excitement. You're going to be like, okay, you have this big idea, but there are going to be plenty of moments where you don't feel like the rock star that you are normally in your day to day, right? And that's where we really get this doubt and, these negative voices of inner critic and really questioning, which that is, all the imposter syndrome. Am I really good, enough to do this? Can I really deliver what I say I can? That's usually fear of the big promise.
Yeah.
So those things like imposter syndrome, that's totally normal, okay? But you need to view it from the outside perspective. You don't have to be the top guru in your field, okay? Not necessary. You simply need to know more than the people that you are helping. That's it. You need to get them further along on the continuum, okay?
Right.
It's all a continuum.
Yeah. And, I always use the example of like, would you really, if he were still alive, if my son at the age of 8 needed help with math, do I want Albert Einstein to help him because he's the guru?
Yeah,
He knows all the math. No, like I
that's a
want like
great example.
yeah, I want a sixth grader to help my son, right? Like, because he can help him. He's so close to that. And we did this with nurse practitioner students too. Like, some would say, oh, well, I want that nurse practitioner because she's got 25 years experience. I'm like, but that doesn't mean she knows how to teach you because she
Yeah,
knows things intuitively now. And she can look at somebody and say, that guy's going to die in like 10 seconds. And they'll be like, oh, he looks perfectly healthy. And then you're coding him 10 seconds later. And how did you know? And she
yeah,
can't tell you, right?
yeah.
But somebody who's, one step ahead of you or 2 steps ahead of you is like, hey, let me give you the lowdown here. You need to watch out
Check
for
these
that
clinical
person. Yeah.
signs.
Yeah.
Here
You
comes
want
the
to do
red
this?
flags. Watch this. This is what's coming next. And you're like, it's literally unfolding before your eyes.
Right.
And they
Right.
can really give you that step by step because they're closer to it. You're exactly right. They're closer to where you are. So they really do understand. And sometimes are better teachers than the absolute expert in the field.
Right. And you do see that in academics all the time. You're like, oh, he knew his stuff. He was he was a really smart guy, but he was a terrible teacher, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And
I
yeah,
have plenty of those.
plenty of those, absolutely. So it's something that it doesn't matter if you're the guru of all gurus in your space, and you don't need to be, nobody's expecting you to be. What they want and what you need to focus on is what they want. And that takes a lot of pressure off of you. It takes the imposter syndrome off of you.
Yes.
And Jill, we've also talked about like, detaching from the outcomes as well, which I think is a big deal.
Yes, yes. So here's the thing. You will probably notice that in the beginning, and some of us have been in it a long time and you still are, on the struggle bus, you're what I call your white knuckling the result. Like, I got to get this client. Oh, I just got to get this client, or I need to meet this goal. Like, you decided what, your threshold is, like whatever your goal is. And then you literally white knuckle, think hands on steering wheel, gripping so tight, like I just got to make it happen. And that is such a let's be honest, desperate energy that it repels everything. Okay. It repels everything. And not to get a little, you might think, oh my gosh, now she's getting into the woo woo, but think about it like going on to, going on a blind date. The person who was like, oh, I just need a boyfriend. Oh, I just need a boyfriend. I need a boyfriend so bad. Are you gonna be my boyfriend? Do you think we should talk about marrying? What's your favorite color? It's a desperate energy. Okay. And what do? They like, I need to go check on my mom. Oh, look, who's calling? I gotta go. Right? It repels. And when you do that in business, it's the same result, friends. So if you pounce, and we see this, Catie, we see this like in your big NursePreneurs group where someone will ask for a tip or someone will ask for, hey, I need an idea, for a business or something. What are some of the things you're doing? And it's like 400 comments from every MLM person that has come out of the woodwork, and they're pouncing. It's like this fear of missing out. Oh, they might get that client first. Oh no, I want that person. I want that person. I want that person. They're so attached to the outcome and they think that they're going to miss out. And the reality is you're just here to serve, friends. Like that's it. This is what you have. Here's your wheel of expertise. This is the offer that you have. I can help you if you have this problem. If you're on the struggle bus with this, I can help you. Here it is. If it's for you, that's great. I'd be happy to work with you. If it's not, that's okay. Like, I'm sure you can find somebody else. That's what it feels like to be detached from the outcome.
Right.
Like you're literally just offering it up for the people who, and it's only right for the people who are a match for you. You're not going to serve everyone, nor could you.
Nor do you want to.
Nor do you want to. You only want to work with the people who you actually want to work with and who are like-minded or aligned with your style, with the offering that you're giving, who want your solution. We don't need to push boulders up mountains of resistance, right? That's you trying to serve everyone with your solution. Your solution isn't for everybody. And that's okay. You got to get comfortable and recognize that. All right. So when you can detach from the outcome, again, holy cow, does that take the pressure off you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's like, especially after, the messaging workshop, because what I think a lot of the nurses will tend to do is just say, okay, well, I'm going to take this elevator pitch and I'm going to make it super broad. So that they can hit all of those people without realizing how much damage it's actually doing. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, good. You just talk to every human being.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to be healthier. Everybody wants more money, but like you said, like, what do those things mean? If I give you $1, then you have more money, right? Yeah. But is that really what you want? You're going to pay me like $5,000 so I can get you $1? I'll just give you the $1 back. Yeah. So what is it that they really want, and what is it that you can give them, which I think is a vital component of narrowing down the message and helping only those people that want your help, who like you, and that you like them.
Yeah, it's got to be a match. It has to be a match. So, you're right. The healthy example, we use this one a lot because it's so applicable, because some of your nurses, especially now, big, huge push to be a nurse coach, right? And that's like health and wellness. And they don't want to, go beyond health and wellness because they want to be able to help everybody. And so, if I might want to get healthier, but I'm not, gonna, fast for 20 hours, and I'm not going to do, 20 hours at the gym, 3 or 4 days a week either. So like that already knocks out a whole bunch of people's solutions, because we're not aligned. I want to do it in a different way. So I'm going to look for solutions that match how I want to achieve that goal, right? That makes sense in my life, or that will work for the struggle bus that I'm on as I recognize it, right? So you have to be clear in your promise. You absolutely do.
And that's what we talked about yesterday as well. And I see this in the health and wellness space, like, because like you said, you might not be aligned with the way that they want to take you. Like, if we're at point A and everybody wants to go to point B, there's all these different roads and ways that we can go. We can fly, we can drive, we can take a boat. Like there's a bunch of different ways that we can get there. And, in health and wellness, like one of the things that we saw, Jill, was the one way to achieve like wellness is through like cannabis or psychedelic use and stuff. That's going to repel a ton of people, but you know what? It's going to attract all the right people.
Yeah. You only want to work with the people who you are meant to work with, right? Stop trying to hit the masses, okay? I promise you, in this world, your niche is mass enough for you. I mean, rarely. I mean, there are people who are killing it with online courses on how to fly fish in lakes in northern Canada. Killing it, making thousands of dollars, right? Like, that's super specific niche. So do not try, you need to get out of the mindset of I don't want to leave it on the table. I don't want to, miss out, again, fear of missing out on people that you could help, because when you go vague, you're going to end up speaking to no one and you're not going to help anybody. Okay. So you're much better off to say, okay, who is it that I really do want to help? Do I want to work with young adults? Do I want to work with, geriatrics? Do I want to work with parents of sick kids? Like, what is it? Figure out who it is that you want to work with, and then make sure your message is, aligning with them.
Right. And at the same time, like, one of the things that I think we're all fearful, and I was certainly fearful of this as well, is being polarizing. And, we kind of see polarizing as a negative thing, but it's not. Like, you really need that. You want to have an opinion. And we talk about this with content strategy. Like, if you're going to post some content, you need to have an opinion of it, right?
Yes.
Don't just post random articles all over the place and, hope that somehow brings traffic to you, because it doesn't. You want to post something and actually say, you know what, this guy, this doesn't make sense. Like, I totally disagree with this, and this is why.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, otherwise you're just literally, promoting somebody else. If you're just posting other people's content and saying, hey, here it is. Like, no, you have to bring it back to what it is that you're doing. Right. Excuse me. Somebody else, you said fear, and somebody else commented about like this fear of judgment. So this is a biggie, right? You put all this time and effort into it. You created this program with your blood, sweat, and tears, and you want it to work so bad. Yet, if you put it out there, someone might say they don't like it, right? It's this fear of judgment, fear of rejection. And, they said that this can be, really overwhelming, just the idea of it. So what do you have to say about that, Catie?
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, I've definitely been through this, and I've certainly have had people just to send me just mean, nasty emails, and you're just kind of like, the first couple, like, I can tell you from, like, when I first set up my email list, like, my biggest fear was like, if somebody might unsubscribe from my list, like some unknown random number unsubscribed, and I'm like, oh my God, what email did I just send? Like, why did that person unsubscribe? Like, and just kind of going through the motions of like, did I say something that I shouldn't have said, and offended people? And at some level, you kind of get to the point where you're like, this is me. This is me. Like, so it's good to know if you like me or you don't like me.
Yeah.
And that's a hard place to get to, because those first couple of people that, say hateful, mean, rude, nasty things to you hurt. They really, really hurt. And
when you internalize them.
Yeah. And if you allow yourself to internalize them, it will destroy you. Absolutely destroy you.
You can't. So like, here's the thing to recognize about judgment. Judgment happens regardless of what you do or don't do. Like, you can't stop it. You can't stop it, friends. And as much as, like, I would love it to be us to live in utopia land where there was no judgment. There is also like, it's just a natural human behavior. And so what I talk to my students when we're, trying to get past this big block is that you're going to be judged whether you act or you don't. And in fact, what if I took you, and this is exactly the example I give to them. I said, what if I took you and put you on a stage in a room full of 10,000 of the people who are exactly who you're trying to help? And what if I told them about all your years of experience and your passion to serve and why you're connected and want to work in this area? And as they're all getting connected to you, then I tell them that you decided you're not going to help. How's that for an eye-opener? Like, you have all this expertise. You have all this knowledge. You have the ability to help. It's not about you. It's about the people on the struggle bus. So you're going to get judged because you have all this capability and you're not serving those people who you could help. right? Or you're going to get judged if you go out there and put yourself out there. So wouldn't you rather get judged for trying to help people versus sitting, in the corner, staying in your house and saying, like, I don't know, maybe I probably could, but I'm not sure. So I'm just going to,
Right.
stay back here.
Right.
Like,
And
think about that. You're going to be judged regardless. Wouldn't you rather be judged trying to help people?
yeah, and it's something that it is one of the reasons to have a community like this is to kind of talk about these things, because it's always like some random ghost picture on social media that has the nastiest things to say, like just a really troubled person.
Yeah, they're
But
hiders.
Right, but it does affect you in the beginning, and that's something that you do have to learn to deal with. And I had this with my son, who was like doing, I don't know, he's playing that game Among Us or something, and you interact with other people, and I guess somebody said something, and you don't know who these people are. I mean, this could be some like 50-year-old like weirdo,
Creeper.
yeah, hanging out, and
Creepers online.
but you have to use those opportunities and say that comment had nothing to do with you, right? Like
Yeah.
what he just said that wasn't nice has nothing to do with you, because if you internalize everybody's opinions about you, you're just, I mean, you can't come out
You
of the
can't.
house.
Like, you can't, I mean, but that's not just in business. That's in everything. But when you
Right.
start in business and you start putting your work out there, yes, you are absolutely going to have more eyes on it if you're doing it right. That is the goal, right? That we get in front of people. So anytime you put yourself in the ring, yes, there is a higher risk of people, saying negative comments. But I can tell you this, you will never get criticized by someone else who's in the ring. They get it. Like, they're doers. They know how hard it is. They see the efforts that you're making and that you're trying to help. The critics are the people, exactly like you said. They don't have their face on their profile picture. They got some stock photo. They got a picture. They got a ghost. They got a flower. They got a whatever. They're hiders. They don't want to be seen. And that is easy then to throw stones, right? Like,
Right.
so they're coming from the peanut gallery. And maybe that's coming from a place of, you're doing stuff that they don't want to do, like they're too scared to do. And so, they're going to, cast some stones. It means nothing. That's not who you're trying to help, right? Stay in your purpose. Be aligned with what you are trying to do. And my guess is, for the majority of us nurses, it's not just about the dollar. We're here because we want to increase our impact. We're here and have come to business because, for whatever reason, the gaps in the system we weren't able to close, right? I mean, this is you. If you internalize all the naysayers and you're going to allow those like random strangers to stop you from helping people, like doing what you're passionate about, like, think about that. Like, really objectively think about that. What would you say to your kids if they came home and said, I really love, playing basketball, but you know what? This one kid told me that I'm not very good. Like, are you going to tell him, oh, give it up? Like, I wouldn't play again. Probably shouldn't even touch a basketball. It
Yeah,
doesn't belong anywhere near you. Like,
because that random kid's opinion really,
yeah,
he
like,
he
who
knows.
cares? Who cares what that random stranger? Are you really going to let, some random stranger, one comment or two comments? I don't care. Do you think that the people who are, quite frankly, making huge impacts on the world, who are thought leaders, do you think they really let some negative naysayers throw their business sideways? No way. No
Right.
way. Stay in your purpose and know why you're here and what you're doing. And if you stay aligned with that, those negative comments, you can just be like, yep, I'm not for you anyway. Totally fine. I'm going to stay focused and keep, working towards, I know there are people out here that I can help.
Yeah, and someone just said, a little bit of controversy is a good thing, and it reminded me of when I was a nurse practitioner for neurosurgery. I worked with this neurosurgeon who was a total firecracker. This guy, like, yell and scream and hysterical, like, just really loud, booming voice, and he would always yell at me. And he was really a good friend of mine, actually, in a weird way. But anyway, so we hired a new nurse practitioner, and when she came on board, I was kind of giving her a heads up and stuff, and I'll say, you'll know that you've gotten to where you need to be when the neurosurgeon starts yelling at you. Because if he doesn't yell at you, it's because he doesn't think you're worth his effort.
Yes.
And the one day, finally, he yelled at her, and she came back, and she was so excited. She's like, "He yelled at me! I'm so excited! I've been
I'm in the
seen."
inner circle.
And it's the same thing on the internet. Like, if people aren't saying negative things about you, or that you don't have some trolls whatsoever, then you're not polarizing enough. You
You're
need to.
probably, yeah, you're probably a wallflower. You're probably blending right in, right? There needs to be something like if you say, that keto stinks and is like terrible or whatever. I'm a nurse and I think keto stinks and blah, blah, blah. You're going to pull some people who are like, keto helped me lose 30 pounds in 4 days, like,
But,
you're like,
but
and Robin's got exactly right. Use those comments to fuel you, but also, hello, free traffic. That's what she did. So another, person commented, they're like, bring me some free traffic, friends.
yeah,
It keeps the post, to the top of the feed for people. It definitely drives engagement. So, yes, like, don't be afraid of, putting that big promise out there, of being polarizing. You want to stand for, what it is that you got to stand for something, right? And then you will magnetize people who align with that, who connect with that. Those are your people. That's who you're trying to help and serve. That's what you're doing with your business, not all these other people who are like, well, that's just stupid, or that's a terrible idea, or, she's never going to make it. Like, watch me,
right.
Robin, use those comments to fuel you.
Right. And that's actually what fueled my business was, because I had started many, many businesses, and a lot of them I would start and then stop and start and stop. And I did that so often it became a family joke. So, it got to when I started this business, my brother's like, well, how long are you going to waste your time and money on this one before
Yeah.
you stop? And that fueled me to the point that I was like, well, I'm going to show you. And here I am, like
Yes.
6 years later, still trying to show him that,
Yeah.
but that drove me, like, that was important. In a little city like that can help. Now, if my family constantly was like, you suck, this isn't going to work,
Yeah.
why are you doing this? Like, that could be really, really hard to deal with. And that's a whole nother situation. But, when you're dealing with people on the internet or randos that, have something negative to say and nothing positive, then it's just, you can take some of this with a grain of salt. You can also look at, if you can disconnect from the
Detach from the
negativity.
outcome. Yeah.
If
Don't
you, yeah,
internalize it.
if you can not internalize it and let the words kind of hang out there and say, okay, well, let me see this
Where's
from a
that coming
different
from?
perspective. Where is it coming from? Is there some merit? Maybe the way they said it was nasty and rude, but maybe
They're
they're
pointing
onto
out
something. Yeah.
a blind spot.
Right. So that was some of the stuff that I started to do, is like, all right, well, maybe they're actually helping me in a rude, obnoxious way. Like,
Yeah.
how can I use this information?
Yeah, absolutely. Use it, to your advantage. And again, you can only do that if you don't internalize, and you got to take the emotion out of it, right? And to be like, well, that's interesting. I wonder where that's coming from. And so, like, is there, like you said, is it pointing out a blind spot that I haven't seen? Like, maybe there's a perspective there that I didn't consider, right? I'm not saying that should change your business, but it might be a great, opportunity for content strategy, right? Like, to be seeing like somebody who's, especially when it's like polarizing, and you're seeing a lot of engagement, that's a great opportunity for, working into your content strategy and your messaging of, giving those examples of, if you're in this camp, then you're not for me. Like, the gurus are all saying, do this, do this, do this. I'm saying that doesn't work. And we know it doesn't work because everybody's still on the struggle bus. So here, you need to try my method. This actually solves the problem. Right? It's a great way to use, to get ideas about how you can, turn it again to your favor, to use it to your advantage. I can't read. Can you read Mercedes?
Yeah, Mercedes says, she said, right now people are all uptight about the Freedom Mom commercial that aired at the Golden Globes, and I got in front of it before it aired with an opinion piece, and blog traffic and website is way up, I'll bet, including Instagram, and I connected even more with my audience by being vulnerable.
Yes. Absolutely. Like, that is what builds your audience, of them really getting to know who you are. And in order to do that, you got to stand for something, and you got to let people know who you are and what, drives you, what you're aligned with, and why you're doing what you're doing. And for the people who don't want to, talk about those things, you're going to struggle for much longer. It's going to be much harder to build a loyal audience base who really follows you and wants to work with you.
Right. And I would say, like, what Mercedes is talking about here is like there's actually an art form to this. Like, people have manipulated that. Yeah, it's called newsjacking. And if you know something is about to come out that's going to go viral, and you can get in front of it, or right before it peaks, the news journalist will come to you. Everybody will come to you because you were like the first person to post something about it. So if you're keeping tabs on, and this is a perfect example of Mercedes, being able to position herself, but she also had to have the confidence to say, I'm going to go out there and say something. Yeah, I'm going to make a comment. Like, I'm going to talk about this. And it's opened doors for her.
Yeah. So, I would encourage you to, to think about your fear of judgment in those, in a different perspective. Recognize that you're going to get judged no matter what, whether you do or you don't do. And so why wouldn't you rather, if you're going to get judged, then let's at least be making an effort and trying to close the gap and making the impact you want to make and help someone versus hiding and not doing anything. Right. We also talked about inner critic and about, those negative voices and the imposter syndrome, where, we see this a lot too with this is what I call degree hoarders. Right. Like, where you feel like you might have a ton of expertise, but you're not ready to put your stuff out there because maybe if you were just certified in this, or you took another course, or you got another degree, then you would feel like you could actually speak to this. But it doesn't have anything to do with the initials behind your name. Right. I promise you, it doesn't. Yeah. Right. So, but we see a lot of people who are trapped in that imposter syndrome of always trying to prove that they are good enough to teach whatever it is that they're trying to teach, or do the business that they really want to do. And so think about, more from an hours of experience that you have. It's not, the day before you get that paper and you get the initials, what's the big difference there? It's only 24 hours. Your knowledge didn't change with the piece of paper. Okay. Right. And I can guarantee you, if you're still stuck in that mindset, your mindset won't change after you get the piece of paper either.
This is true.
It's not going to make a difference.
Mercedes made a follow-up comment that, it was a work in progress that, didn't happen overnight. And I think that's a really, really, really good point, because we all think that people like Mercedes, Mercedes is lucky. I mean, she's just, she's just, people go to Mercedes because she's good, and that's just the way it is. Like, she's just special. And it has nothing to do with that. Like, Mercedes has worked really, really hard to get to where she is, to be in the position.
Heck, I love it. Like, she's gonna get it. Like, she's gonna make it work. Like, if there's a story to be found, Mercedes is on it. Like, you can just bet that she's gonna be posting about it, right?
And that's the point, because these things, they don't fall in her lap. She's actively looking for them. So if you're sitting around waiting for things to happen, and that's, when you're talking about that piece of paper, Jill, I had that experience of, I got my PhD now. All right, world, come to me. And, that's really the stance that I had taken. It wasn't that like brazen, but in retrospect, that's basically what I did, was like, where's my opportunity now? I put in all this work. Where's my opportunity? And the fact is that you have to go out and make it. Yes. And it doesn't happen overnight. No. All these like overnight success, they were like 5 years, 10 years in the making, Yeah.
You just saw them on graduation day, friend. Like, that's it. Like, you're now seeing them on graduation day. You didn't see them the years before that they were grinding and getting this business off the ground, right? So it's easy to see on social media or wherever it is, people who feel like they're an overnight success. I can guarantee you they were not. It was tons of hours and blood, sweat, and tears, to get to that point. It's like the tip of the iceberg versus what is actually underneath.
Right. And it takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of time. And when you're in that position and you're ready, then something lucky happens, you're there to accept it. Right. Yeah. But if you were never in that position, then things are happening constantly.
You had to get in that position.
Yeah. And if you don't get in position, then you'll never get lucky. I mean, I guess you could win the lotto or something, but that's
never going to happen. Never going to happen. Like, never going to happen. Like, this is a mindset thing too and I think we do see this, you're right. We see this in the beginning where we like look at influencers and we're like, oh, well, I could do it if I had this, if I had 50,000 followers, or if I had a group that was, had a 80% engagement and none of those things just happened. Those people made them happen. So, this is like my chant that I talk to nurses that I work with. I'm like, if it is meant to be, it is up to me. I'm the one who's going to make it happen. Okay. Just like Mercedes is the one who puts herself in that position to be ready and, for that opportunity. And, we worked with Kimball, who's amazing. And, when she was starting out her business, she just said yes to every opportunity. And then she was like, okay, I got to figure out how to do this, right? Like, she just stepped into it and knew that saying no was definitely not going to get her, move the needle and get her further in her business. Saying yes to opportunities and then being like, okay, I'm a smart girl. I can figure it out. I got some experience. I got skills. I got people to call. I'll figure this out, right? That's the kind of mentality and the kind of mindset that will help you grow and move the needle and move your business forward.
Right. And that's, I think, kind of stemming off of yesterday's workshop with messaging and stuff, is that if you get that message out there, first of all, it does take some time. So I know some people are afraid that 1,000 people are going to beat on their door and demand to have that, whatever the product.
Publish your website. I did that. I was like, oh, I can't do it. My website's not perfect yet. I can't let it go live. And they're like, you do know that when you publish it, there's
nothing happens.
Nothing. Like,
announcing Jill's website is live. Like, everybody calm down.
Like, there's no nothing came across the news. There was no neon flashing billboard. It was like, Jill's website is finally up. Like, no, like, get it out there. 70% perfection is perfect. Get it out there. Keep working on it as you go. But there's not like a magic switch when you publish your website that you're going to be bombarded with all these people. So you don't want to publish it until you're ready.
Right. But so one of the things that I want to say, though, to those of you that are putting together coaching programs and courses and consulting packages, is that perfect the message first, right? Yeah. So you have an outline. You have to have an outline. That's what we're going to talk about tomorrow is, creating that outline and putting some value to it. What does it look like? Because you have to know what your process is. You have to know what you're offering people. But you don't have to create it. And I would strongly encourage you not to create it, because we have to perfect the message first. And, we want to help you to tweak it and work with people. But there's nothing more motivating than somebody handing you money and saying, yes, I like your message. Yeah. Yes, I want your solution.
I want that.
Now give it to me, right? And if somebody gives you money, and we can talk about this, Jill, too, there's that kind of, there's that burden, right? Of all of a sudden, like, oh my God, am I good enough? And you go through the whole spiel again of imposter syndrome. Right.
Because repeats.
Right, because you can give away free advice all day and it doesn't cost you anything and you don't feel responsible for the person. But as soon as they give you $1,000, now you feel like, you owe your life to them or something. Right. Like, you have this immense pressure on you to perform and to deliver. Yeah. But, that pressure to create something, because you don't want to give the money back. Like, once you get the money, you get used to it very fast. You will create the course and you will create your program, but let's work on that message first, and then we can deal with those mindset issues when they come along. Yeah.
And you probably just blew some people's minds, if they are new to us and new to how this all works, is that when you're like creating a course, you don't actually build out the entire course, record all the sessions, right, do all the things. You don't actually do that before you start advertising and talking to people about the course, because you don't know if they're even interested. You don't know if your message is going to resonate with them. And so what happens, and we've seen plenty of nurses come to us and they're like, I got this whole course, I got my website, everything, but I need some traffic, right? They think they need marketing help. No, they do not. They built, and they're like frustrated and disheartened, quite frankly, because they put a year. We've literally talked to people who have spent a year building this course out and all recording all the things, and then they don't sell a single one. And they're not going to sell because their message is so vague, is so off. They have no idea they don't even know who they're talking to, right? So that's why it's so important that you guys there is a formula to this. It feels backwards. I know, I get it. It does. However, it's a proven system. This is what works. Otherwise, you're going to spend tons of time and energy, and that means a lot of resources building out something that you don't even know that anybody wants. That messaging is so important to get that right from the beginning.
Right. And you can spend your time tweaking them. Like, you don't ever have to change the outline. Your process is your process. Like, we don't need to change that. What we need to change is what resonates with people, right?
Yeah.
So,
Message.
I mean, so if I can, like with my business, if I'm going to help you to, start your business, right? We want to help you with your expertise and start your business. What message are you going to resonate with? And maybe it's a different message for a bunch of different groups, right? So maybe what I say to an 18-year-old that's graduating and thinking going to nursing school is going to be much different than what I say to, a 42-year-old who has 20 years experience in nursing. And, so the message would change, but it's the same course that they would go through to get to the other side.
That's okay. You can literally, multi-purpose rewrap in a different message to a specific audience, the same course 10 times. And you just tweak the message of how it's going to help that person solve the problem. And I love, I think about Jo Neal, Dr. Jo Neal Connolly, who does bullying, and she is focusing on nurses, and she's got a course coming up that's arming yourself with bullying PPE. She could also teach bullying to school kids. She could also teach bullying to nursing execs. She could teach bullying to the perioperative suite. There's bullying everywhere. But if she just was coming out with a general, hey, I can help you with bullying message, it falls pretty flat. It blends in, right? Versus being very specific to each of those audiences and crafting her message directly to them. Now you've got their attention. Now they know that you can help them with their very specific problem.
Right. Robin says she's learned what people think about her is none of her business. And I love that. I think that's really great.
I do. I'm like, guess what? It's none of your dang business, whatever they think about you. And you have no control over it. So stop wasting your time and energy trying to get those people on board. Okay? They're not for you. That's not who you're here for. Focus on who you're supposed to be helping. It's not the naysayers. That's awesome, Robin. Yes. We would be BFFs. I'm totally in agreement with that statement.
Yeah, and I've had that experience, just in personal life, because I've always done things that, other people would, I guess, consider odd or weird, like move to Mexico, or, I'm a single mom by choice. Yeah, during a pandemic, or, I'm a single mom by choice. I had my son by myself, through IVF, or, I moved to Europe at one point, or, I've done all these things. And every time, I get this criticism, but if I didn't do it, it would crush me, my inner spirit, I have to follow what it is that, comes to me.
It's true for you. You got to hold true to yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And everybody else's opinion of what it is that I do, I can take it with a grain of salt, right? I can try and see their perspective and be like, well, okay, maybe that's not such a great idea to go to Libya right now, so, but, I can appreciate that. But to let them dictate, and that's what happened to me in the hospital system, honestly, was that I did let them kind of crush down my spirit, and just, I'm like, all right, well, I'll follow the rules and do what you tell me. And it didn't work out for me at all. I was just angry, bitter, resentful, irritable. People would be like, hey, Catie, how are you? And I'm like, what do you want? It was just, I just had this nasty disposition, and it was horrible.
Yeah. I mean, come on. We learned this, guys. We learned this in grade school, did we not? Where we were trying to fit in with everybody else, and it really wasn't us, but we were trying to, be the clone of, Miss Popular, whatever, and be in the crowd and do all the same things, but it didn't feel right. It didn't align with you. Okay. If I put up, it's the same as a red ocean. If I put up a board of 100 little figures that were all the same color, and then I had one that had a purple hat on it, who do you think draws your attention? Which one do you actually want to talk to? Which one would you choose to be out of that sheet of paper? They're all the same except one. Like, which is the most interesting? Like, we know this, right? We know that when we let other people dictate and tell us who we should be, what we should do, how we should act, what we should say, it doesn't align with us. It doesn't feel right. You can't get 100%, behind it. You're not going to be driven to pursue it because you're just going through the motions. You have to pick something that sets your soul on fire. And it has to be what's right for you, not what you think that you should do. We've been doing that, come on. We've been doing that. Like, are we not done with that? Like,
yeah. And that's we talked about that a little bit yesterday as well. Like, people will choose a business model because they think they should, or because this business model is easier, or it'll make money. And that will not get you through the hard times. Never. No, it doesn't work. So yeah. And you'll give up, or you just won't do it. You're just like, I don't feel like doing that today. You
can't pick something that you feel meh about. That's like, does it pass the meh test? Like, yeah, I mean, I could do that. No, not the right answer. Keep going. We've seen that with hot seats when we've had, people, nurses in the membership, and it's like, they're telling us, well, I could do all these different things. And I'm like, well, yeah, I could do 100 different things. Doesn't mean I want to do 100 different things. Now that we know what's in your wheelhouse, what you can do, the question is, what do you really want to do?
Right.
And you have to give yourself permission to decide that. Like, you have to give yourself a minute and recognize that this is really something that you choose. You're not taking a job and then being restricted by, this is what your job responsibilities are. This is your scope, right? You're literally creating it with a business. That's the beauty of it. It's also the challenge to not have that structure and be the person who does create all those things, right? So it's a catch-22. There's tons of freedom and scary uncertainty.
Yes. And you can't have one without the other, right?
It's the same coin. So and that's true. Maybe, we should wrap up kind of with that, of the difference between an entrepreneur mindset versus an employee mindset, right?
Yeah.
And so if you are somebody who really, really thrives and craves that structure, and for things to all be laid out in front of you, exactly what's going to happen, and you kind of really thrive. I'm going to tell you that those are some control issues, but if you really thrive in that structured thing, but environment, and you don't want to be the person creating it, you just want it laid in front of you, then that's an employee mindset. That's not an entrepreneur mindset. Right? Or you might be thinking about a business that gives you the blueprint, like concierge, IV hydration, case management, home health agency, private duty. Those businesses may align better with you when they actually give you the blueprint. But when you're in business, I mean, you can set up all the structure and processes you want. You can't control everything. So if that really is your frame of mind, entrepreneurship is going to be a really hard road for you. So again, it's about knowing yourself really intimately, and how you work and how you thrive.
Right. And, I would add to that as well, like, because I've had nurses come and say they want to make money really quickly, and this is not the path, or, they'll say that program's too expensive. I can't, I'm in a lot of debt. And, I'm just kind of like, this isn't the right space, because you have to get your finances in order, because how you deal with finances in your personal life is how your finances are going to go in your business life, because you don't become a different person just because you start a business. You're going to spend like you spend in your personal life, and you're going to buy things like you buy in your personal life. And if that's not under control, or that's not in order, this isn't going to help. And the other piece to that is knowing what it is that you really want. Like, if you just want to get out of debt and have some extra money, this isn't the road, right?
Starting a business does not, that's not the obvious solution.
Right. So that's wealth building. If you want to do wealth
Yeah.
building, pay down your debt, buy some
Yeah.
stocks, buy some real estate, work an extra job, spend
It's a good
less.
strategy.
Yeah, that's wealth management. But
Yeah.
entrepreneurialism is you're going to spend a lot of money. It's going to hose out of you for a while before it comes back. And you have to be okay with that. And
Yeah.
you have to have a bigger vision and say, this is going to pay me back in
Right.
either in kind, in finances, in something. There's going to be some kind of return of investment. And I don't care if it's money. What I want is
Freedom,
this. Yeah.
autonomy, flexibility, like you literally calling the shots. I want to do what I want to do and increase my impact in the way that I, want to do it, that they can't be done in the system, that can't be done in a job. Right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
like, and we see this also with nurses who just want to get out of bedside. And I'm like, well, there's, I don't know, like 80 other nursing job options. Like, bedside on the hospital is, leaving that specific role does not automatically equate to getting out of nursing or equate to starting a business. Like
Right.
there's literally like, I don't even know, like 80, you have a job of like 200 remote nursing jobs. So
Yeah.
like, if you're just looking to, you want to transition to something remotely, you really might just want a remote nursing job. It doesn't mean that you want to create a business. So getting clear on what it is that you really want is very helpful before you make this huge investment in time, energy, resources, going down a path that you're like, yeah, I don't want to do it. I don't want to market. I don't want to network. I don't want to do a website. I don't want to well, what is it you want to do? I want to work from home, but use my nursing skills. Okay, well, let's talk. I think, remote job might be better what you're actually looking for. And that's totally fine. So that's why we wanted to create this boot camp this week. It kind of is a way for you to kind of test out and be thinking about, is nursepreneurship for me? Like, is this what I really want? It's helpful to do it in doses like this versus, joining a high ticket coach and then realizing that this is not at all what you want.
Right. And then you have those sunk costs, like, well, I just spent all this money, so now I got to do something. And then you
Yeah.
just keep getting into it, and it just takes you down this rabbit hole that you don't want to be in. Someday you're just going to have to say, you know
It's
what,
not what I want.
yeah,
Yeah,
this is
it
not what I
doesn't
want.
align. You've got to get aligned with what it is that you really want and what you're trying to do, how you want to work, who you want to work with, like, so that, if you are doing a business route, that you're not building a present, like you're building your dream nursing career. That's what we're doing here as nursepreneurs, right? And if it's not what you want, then you just get clear on, I want a different role, and who can I connect with to find a nursing role where I can still use the degree that I worked my hind end off for and spent money getting, and that I can still make the impact in people's lives the way I want to using my nursing skills, but maybe that's not in the same role that I'm in right now.
Right, exactly. And that was what really started everything for me, because I was working for corporate Walmart, and I ended up doing a fellowship at the ICN, International Council of Nurses in Geneva, and met nurses from all over the world that were doing absolutely amazing things. And I was like, well, I thought the only thing I could do was work on the floor. Like, it just blew my mind, to see these nurses doing amazing things. And you just have to, want something specific.
It's a very different role. And I see, I'm in tons of nursing groups. I'm in lots of new, nurses helping nurses, and all these other, groups where you have seasoned nurses helping new nurses, and all these people who are like, I just want out, and it's like, do you just want out of your role? That might be, that it's time for a change. Maybe that, you're done and you need a break, or you need a switch, you need to change it up. Maybe you want to go to a different specialty. Maybe you want to go to outpatient. Maybe you want to do a clinic versus an office versus, outpatient surgery, or whatever it is, school nursing, remote nursing. There's so many options in nursing, guys. There's so many options. One of those options is becoming a nursepreneur and starting a nursing business. And then you literally can now, if that's where you want to be, now the question is, okay, limitless possibilities for real. Like you can absolutely create whatever it is that your heart desires, as long as there's people to help. We're going to need helpers. So it's truly limitless as a nursepreneur.
Right. And then, kind of that first step is, all right, well, what is it that I'm good at? Who do I like helping? And what is their problem that I can solve?
Yep. that's in my wheelhouse that I can do,
Yeah.
that really lights me up. Like that's the match. That's what you're trying to create. And that's what we hope that you've been working on since yesterday, is that messaging. And make sure you fill out the form if you want Catie and I to, take a look at it. We're going to go through some of those on Thursday, I believe, right?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. So I think we're going to wrap up here, but tomorrow we're talking about, it's called money, because I like the alliteration of messaging, money, and movement. But so the money is the value stack. Okay. And this is what we look at. And this is how, I help nurses when they first come in, and I say, okay, well, what are you good at? Who are we helping? And what can you do for them? And say, okay, that I get it. I hear what you're saying. Now let's put that into some sort of package that we can then price. So, what is your price point, and what is if 3,000 is the price point, what needs to be in here in order for, this price to match? Because I've had lots of people say, well, I wanted it to be 2,000, but it's like,
what are you putting in there? And they're like,
it's like an ebook or something. And I'm like, that's not going to sell for $2,000. So we have to be realistic. I have a lot of documents to help you with pricing and all that kind of good stuff, but we got to put that value stack together, and it's got to reflect what it is that your transformational outcome is. So everything from here on out builds on your message. So if the message isn't strong and it doesn't work, then
you can't move on.
Right. These are things that are nice to have in your armor in your toolkit, excuse me, but you can't move on until that message is good, and that's why you really need just leverage. That's why we're here to help you with the messaging.
Absolutely. Take advantage of the coaching while you have access to us, and we're happy to do that. That's why we're both just so passionate about helping other nurses hit their goals and how they can, increase their impact in their specialty. They're doing stuff that is beyond it just blows my mind. The nurses that I'm working with, are you not? I'm just continuously astounded of, holy cow, like this is amazing. I want to help you, bring it to fruition, because I know that what you are doing is so needed in the world. And so that's what, we love doing, is helping other nurses help bring their, what it is that they're going to do to the world. And then everyone increases their impact, and we see the benefit, for all. So take advantage of this week of boot camp with us. Make sure you get your messaging in, and we will help you do some tweaks and make some suggestions. And then be thinking about, now I always tell people, you shouldn't start with your price point. Because if you don't know what's in there, how could you, where are we going from here? You need to start with the value stack and know what it is. And now we can say, okay, here's the value. Let's look, this is the equation, right? You can't just randomly pick. I had someone tell me they wanted to, they picked a number because it was their favorite number. And I'm like, nope. No, that's not how this works. Because if someone asks you, well, how did you, why is it so expensive? Or why did you get to that? Telling them it's your favorite number, it's really not going to fly. You need to be able to say, it's worth this because I have this, and this. You're going through that value stack and really, truly, putting value on what the services that you're providing. And that's how you get to your price point, to that transformation that you're going to give them.
And Mary says, how do we communicate through the platform? So just, post in Facebook, tag us, Jill Weberdine, Catie Harris. The form is in there. I'll make sure it's pinned to the top so that you can find it easily, because I know that gets frustrating to try and scroll through stuff. But
and this is they need to post in the NursePreneur Bootcamp Facebook group.
And NursePreneur Network. So the membership, the people that are in the membership are getting the same exact material, because that's how we roll in the membership.
That's how we roll. Over deliver, friends. You love it. We love helping you, give you all the strategies and tools that you need to move the needle and get your business further, faster.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you tomorrow, 1 p.m.
Tomorrow is the value stack, so don't miss it. Okay, make sure you're here. If you can't be here while we're live, then make sure you watch the replay so we can keep making progress this week with your business. All right, we'll see you soon. We'll see you in the group.
Bye.